spoke about the pay for about 2 minutes in one of the early episodes. The rest of the documentary completely glossed over the fact that these young women who are the face of the brand, the most valuable brand in sports, I don't want them to be at the age of 28 with their hips blown out and their feet messed up and they don't have any money. All they have are the memories, the sisterhood, right? The honorary position. According to Forbes, the Dallas Cowboys are the most valuable sports franchise in the world, valued at $9 billion. NBC Sports Boston reported in 2022 that the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders made $15 to $20 an hour. I want to talk about a few things here. America's Sweethearts has been out on Netflix since June 20th. It's the documentary about the DCC, Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders. I loved this documentary. I want to talk about three aspects of this DCC world. First, brand value, brand equity, and talent. Second, masculine and feminine energy. And third, the idea of pay and gender and being a young woman, being young at all in the working world, and being grateful instead of confident about your value. This really is about marketing and branding. And there's some juicy stuff going on with DCC and the money. There's a lot to unpack here. This is a quote from one of the cheerleaders. It's kind of a running joke for the girls on the team. The guys on the practice squad who don't even touch the field half of the time, getting $80,000 more than we do a year. And I'm at every single game dancing my ass off and every other appearance, and my face is all over the star. You don't even know who these guys on the practice team are. It's unfortunate that with how much they pretend or say we are important in the face of the organization, the way they treat us and pay us does not come near equal to that. That was a quote from one of the cheerleaders. It's in a Cosmopolitan article. I will link to everything in the show notes that I quote, of course. Charlotte Jones, who is the chief brand officer and the owner, spoke about the pay for about 2 minutes in one of the early episodes. The rest of the documentary completely glossed over the fact that these young women who are the face of the brand, the most valuable brand in sports, the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders are iconic. It's been decades of DCC. Even if you're not a sports person, you are aware of it. It's kind of this iconic femininity, and it's also class and poise. It's not just this over-sexualized thing. Although, yes, the uniforms are somewhat scantily clad, it's not trashy. It's classy. They pull it off. It's really interesting how they do this culturally. I want to talk a little more about that too. This is the quote from Charlotte Jones. There's a lot of cynicism around pay for NFL cheerleaders, and as it should be, Jones said. They're not paid a lot, but the facts is they actually don't come here for the money. They come here for something that's actually bigger than that to them. They have a passion for dance. There are not a lot of opportunities in the field of dance to get to perform at an elite level. It is about being a part of something bigger than themselves. It is about a sisterhood that they were able to form, about relationships that they have for the rest of their life. They have a chance to feel like they're valued, that they're special, and that they are making a difference, end quote. She said that on the documentary. I remember watching her. God, she looked great. Classy. She looks expensive. She's well-spoken. I mean, she embodies the qualities of DCC, which is about class and poise, behavior, respect, making the other person always feel like they're the most important person in the world. It's odd because when you really look at some of the values that they're espousing and teaching these women, that if you're DCC, you have to act this way, they're technically masculine energy. Masculine energy is always about putting other people first. Feminine energy is joyfully receptive and selfish, but not selfish in a bad way. It's selfish in the way of like, put on your oxygen mask first, then you can help others. This is how a lot of things have gotten backwards or misinterpreted. That's a whole other topic. But I do have an episode about masculine and feminine energy that I'll link to with Charlotte Jones and these young women. They are in their early 20s, mid 20s. The oldest one was, I believe, 31 years old, Anisha. She was so beautiful and cool. She was an orthodontist with her own business and was trying out for DCC. She ended up not making it, but she was so fun to watch and just beautiful and very, what's the word, poised. There's an episode called Yes, Ma'am. They say, yes, ma'am. You never just say yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I love that. I love that throwback. I love the tradition. I love the Texan part of it. And they're all about legacy. They have the women that were DCC from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. They all come together and do events, or they'll be on the field together. Some of the girls, if I say girls, give me a break. Like, I know they're women. It's cheerleading and they call themselves girls, so it's just kind of easier. And I say it as a term of endearment. You guys know I'm a feminist. Like, check the tape. But the mothers who in the 1989 DCC, like Tina Kalina and her daughter Victoria Kalina is now DCC. There's just so much about this series, and it's almost, it takes you back to high school. Not in the sense that I was ever a cheerleader, far from it. I was like protesting the war and wearing all black. Anarchist vegan here. But my high school days were interesting. It's back in high school in the sense that you want to fit in with the group, and then there's camaraderie, but not everybody's a leader. And am I going to make the team next year? Am I up for captain next year? Is this worth my time? Because God, it's grueling. It's like in November and December, they work 21 days in a row without a break. They're getting 5 hours of sleep a night. They're getting strep throat, broken ankles, hip dysplasia from those jump splits. Oh my God, the kick line with the jump splits. You got to watch it. It's iconic. And they have to be high. If your foot is off by an inch or your kick's not high enough, you're off. You're off the team. And then they do a jump split where you split your legs up in the air and land in a split. People, their skeletal system can't even handle it. It's all for DCC. It's for $22K a year. I don't care about the money because I'm on DCC. The Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders used to be paid just $15 per game. This went up to $35 in the 1980s. And many of the early cheerleaders said they were surprised to get paid at all because they thought it was an honorary position. Meanwhile, former cheerleader Tina Kalina, the one I mentioned, told Netflix's documentary crew, these millennials, X-Gen, whatever they're called, they do look at it as a job, whereas old-timers look at it as more of a privilege. Okay. I mean, there's such a thing as a volunteer position, being on certain boards or working for a church, or like I was on American Marketing Association board and it was a volunteer position. I wasn't paid, but there were other benefits to it. It was great for my career. I did like giving back a little bit, but I mean, it wasn't a full-time job. It wasn't every night. It wasn't physically taxing on me. I told you I wanted to discuss this from a branding perspective. If you have a $9 billion brand, and think about a brand like a cake, it has a lot of different ingredients. Some brands are more complex and have more sub-brands than others. The cheerleaders are the sugar in the cake. The football players are the flour. These are very key ingredients. You need both of them, really, to make that cake as good as it is. There are other cakes that have cheap sugar or less sugar. They probably don't taste as good. They don't cost as much. So you're telling me the flour is worth hundreds of times more than the sugar in a cake? Charlotte Jones, when she said all of that about these young women, and they're glad to be here, it's an honorary position. I get that you guys were all taught and told that it was an honorary position in the 70s, in the 80s, and things have changed. Women are now paid equally to men. We are now paid for the work that we do and the value we bring. The thing that's debatable about it is everyone trying out for DCC is doing it willingly. They know what the money is, and they're not there for the money. Because when you're 23 years old, you're not really doing anything for the money. It's for the experience. It's to build your resume. It's to do reputation-enhancing work. Reputation-enhancing work. This is a term I learned from Harry Joyner back when I was in my 20s, learning about when you hop to the next lily pad in your career, I'm getting another job. Which company do I choose? You do the one that's reputation-enhancing work, sometimes more so than a little more money. And at that point in your career, you're like, is it worth another 5 or 10K a year? Or should I go for the big brand? Always go for the big brand. At least in the marketing world, that's what I was taught. I actually went for one of the dorkiest brands you've ever heard of, but I doubled my salary in a single move, and that was really worth it. I want to talk about money and young women. I have a little neighbor named and she's the sweetest. She's about 25 years old. She works her butt off. She's finishing up her design degree in college while also working at a fabric textile design firm. And she doesn't get a lot of sleep, and she's driving south, she's driving north, she's going to work, she's going to class, she's doing it all. And she's such a hard worker, always has a great attitude, always has a smile on her face. In fact, she embodies DCC, and she's from Louisiana, so she has that Southern thing going. But here's the thing about it. I said to her, listen, girl, I know that you might be a little strapped for cash on budgeting because you're paying for all these things by yourself, you're working, inflation, all that. If you can put away $50 a month into a robo, let's just make it easy. Put it into a Betterment. Put $50 a month into Betterment. Lose your password, check it in 15 years. You can thank yourself, girl. look at that compound interest. I sent her some information. I'm like, you're smart, you get it. I did it when I was young, and I'm thanking myself now. I can take risks. I can do a startup in 2020. I'm not worried about being strapped for cash because when I was young, I started, even just a little bit helps. If you invest $100 a month when you're 22, so these girls on the DCC aren't even making enough money. And that's a travesty because that organization has so much money. Wouldn't it be great if the owner said, to support women and make sure that you have that fierce Texan independent spirit that we value. You can stand on your own 2 feet. You never have to stay in a bad marriage because of financial abuse, things like that. We want to protect you. They protect the girl. Like one of the cameramen grabbed somebody and it was like a little sexual assault. And they said, oh, we got your back. We'll get him out of here. He's banned from AT&T Stadium. We've got your back. We'll always protect you, but we're not going to pay you. Money is power. Money is security for a young woman, a single woman, to not end up in a bad relationship, to not end up in a bad job because you're desperate for money, to not stay in an abusive relationship. You need to have your own money. And the time to start building wealth, the younger, the better. The time is yesterday. It's always yesterday. But don't worry, if you didn't do it yesterday, you can do it now. I've got a link in the description to sign up for a free account with Betterment. I had great returns, just steady, slow and steady wins the race. Even keel, lose your password, check it in a decade. Put in $50 a month. There's no minimum account balance. This is not sponsored. I'm just saying, I think the DCC girls should all be doing it if they're not already. And I think Charlotte Jones should say, you know what? I'm gonna give you all $700K because you are the sugar in our cake. I said I was going to talk about masculine and feminine energy. I've done a few takes of this episode because I had some issues with my camera, so I don't remember what I've already covered, but I probably should save that for another time. I will suffice it to say this. Masculine energy is actually generous, generative, agentic, and it's a building energy. It's a creation. It's decisive. It's focused singularly often. Feminine energy, better at multitasking, typically more intuitive, creative, and joyfully receptive. It's a very different thing in nature, and they are a yin and a yang. Business, by definition, is masculine because it is generative and decisive. You can do it in a feminine style, but by definition, the activity is masculine. The one thing about the culture of DCC that I think is confusing and is a 20th century hangover about what it is to be feminine, lovely, smiling, easy, and light. Those are all, lightness is feminine. Light, levity, ease. Nobody likes a sourpuss. But here's the thing. Feminine energy is actually selfish. In a good way, not a toxic selfishness. It's the selfishness of, let me put on my oxygen mask first so that I can then assist you and be my best self. Let me go take a bath. Let me do some self-care. Let me put my boundaries up that are healthy because I have to take care of me because I am a beautiful flower. That's feminine energy. What DCC is asking them all to do, and it's part of their whole rule book, this binder since the 70s, they've got rules for everything. One of them is you put everyone else before yourself. We are never selfish. We're always smiling. We always make the other person feel like the most important person in the room. I mean, that's just Dale Carnegie stuff. You can't, it's not necessarily masculine or feminine to do that. That's just smart. That's smart in a lot of situations. But it's not an MO that you need to have 24/7. And actually, the thing about DCC that I think is not feminine energy is they are so selfless when really they need to be putting on their own oxygen mask before they have hip dysplasia and debt. You know, they're running on empty, no sleep. I see the DCC girls. They're America's sweethearts. You can't help but love them. But you look at them, you think like, Victoria, Reese, Kelsey, girls, can you start investing a little bit of that money, please? Can I set you up with a Betterment account? I don't want them to be at the age of 28 with their hips blown out and their feet messed up and they don't have any money. All they have are the memories, the sisterhood, right? The honorary position. I don't know. I'm just thinking about this as a protective woman in my late 30s now when I think of things that I did correctly in my 20s that I wish others had known. Like I look at my girlfriends now that don't have any investments because they were buying handbags with the money. I'm like, I bought NVIDIA in 2016. I didn't want a handbag. I wanted NVIDIA. I didn't even know what NVIDIA was. Somebody told me, hey, my ex-boyfriend, I think it was him. I don't know. Maybe it was the Motley Fool. I don't remember. But thank God I did it. You got to do what you can with what you have. And the earlier you do it, the better. That's all I'm saying. They don't talk about money. They talk about makeup. They talk about how to curl your hair better, which are all important things too. Trust me, I watch YouTube videos on that, and I'm barely able to do it half as well as those girls. My generation, it wasn't our strong suit. You know what the makeup trends of the early 2000s were. So, love that DCC documentary, though. Go watch it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do I have blind spots? What do you think? Leave them in the comments below. Make sure that you subscribe to this podcast. It is on Apple, Spotify, everywhere else audio, and it's on YouTube. I do clips on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram at Beetle Moment, BeetleMoment, Beetle Moment. All the links to rate, review, subscribe are at emilybinder.com/podcast. I am broadcasting from Austin, Texas, just down the road from Dallas, Texas. There is something called a Von Lane, a luxury bus that I could take up to Dallas to go watch the DCC, and I just might do that because I'm a convert. I'm really into this now. I really like it, but I could see myself becoming an advocate for their pay. I see myself in them in ways. When you're 24 and you think you're breaking your back to be a good employee and a team member, I remember vividly a job that I had for 4 years in my 20s. It was a pivotal job. I was very underpaid, and I was bringing in a ton of value to that organization. I doubled their revenue one year by myself. Like, I did stuff in the marketing that they had never even thought of. I was paid a pittance, but it's like, well, you're lucky to be working for this brand. It's a Fortune 500 brand. It's going to be on your resume. That's great. You get what you get and you don't get upset. Learned that in Atlanta when I was a nanny for a rich family, by the way. I got paid in ways better at that nanny job than I did at that Fortune 500 company because it was under the table, and I got hand-me-down designer jeans when she was nice to me. Other times, emotional abuse. These are all experiences you have in your early 20s. But you have to realize when it comes to work and value, when you are bringing value and lining someone's pockets, okay, that's what you do when you're an employee at a job till you start your own thing, if you ever do start your own thing. Sometimes you don't. That's okay too. The world goes around because we all have our own roles and magic parts to play in it. Not everyone is cut out to be a founder or a leader. When I was in my early 20s doing these jobs, working late, doing everything, bending over backwards, I was dreaming about rental cars. I was in the car rental business. Very different from what I do now. But marketing's marketing. You're selling something to somebody. The Dallas Cowboys sell their brand, their product. The cheerleaders are a very key part of that product, and they're being paid as though they don't matter at all, and they're being told it's an honorary position. You get what you get and you don't get upset. Be grateful, girl. Put a smile on your face. I don't like it. I think they should be paid $700K minimum. If anybody sees this video and sends it off to the Jones family and they end up getting that money, my work here is done. Like, that would make me so happy. I want young women to get paid fairly. And a lot of young women are getting paid for putting their foot on OnlyFans. And these girls are working their ass off and they're making $20 an hour. What's going on here? Guys, make sure you subscribe, emilybinder.com/podcast. I do offer coaching and consulting. It's about marketing, branding, and media training, podcasting, in particular, content strategy, marketing, video clips, podcasts, and brand overall. Like, is your brand strong? Is this working? Book it at emilybinder.com/call. You can see testimonials and the types of calls and sessions I offer. I have something called the 5-star show checklist. This is for podcasts. 2 Zoom calls. I will make your show worth 5 stars. It's probably 2 or 3. If it's average, it's 3. Let's be real. I'll make it 5. emilybinder.com/call. Thank you for listening. Bye. Is it crooked? Crooked? I can't tell. Whatever.